Peace. Hello, I am Oneno. Thank you so much for coming by to watch the video. Today's topic is what is self-love and how do we do it? I was talking this week with a friend who brought up the question, what is self-love? How do you actually do self-love? And why is it so hard? I thought a great place to start this video would be what is not self-love. It's much easier to see what is not self-love, and then once we shed some light on that, perhaps it will illuminate what is self-love. So what is not self-love? Being hypercritical of your own thoughts, not self-love. Being judgmental of yourself and others, not self-love. Being caught up in dramas and stories, not self-love. These so far are rather obvious. Let's get deeper. What is not self-love? Splitting yourself into two different minds and having a war in your own mind, that's not self-love. Comparing yourself with the visions that are plastered around you, if you're a man being compared to other men, or if you're a woman being a woman compared to the other woman or the ideal woman. Anytime you fall into those comparisons, you ultimately fall into a state that is not self-loving. Comparison in its own nature is judgment. I'm going to use the analogy for women for a second because I think it's way more obvious. Imagine yourself as a woman standing in the checkout line of the grocery store. All around you, you see a ton of magazines that are all telling you what an ideal woman is and looks like and should behave like. Also, what an ideal woman is not and how fat or disgusting they become or how outrageously dramatic they have been or whatever. All of these things create judgments in your own mind, which then have a ripple effect on back of who am I in relationship to these things, to these images and these perceptions. This moment right here, I believe, is a moment where we are trained to become hypercritical of our own selves by becoming hypercritical of those around us. And now these thoughts seep in. All of a sudden, you begin to judge yourself and you begin to judge your own inner drama or inner blemishes, if you will, instead of seeing those same individual traits as being what makes you unique, perfect, and genuinely creative in your own self. Okay, so let's move now to what is self-love. We've already seen what isn't self-love, which is being hypercritical. So what is self-love is being accepting of who you are, accepting of your moment, and accepting of the reality around you. It is much more difficult than you would imagine because the reality around you is actually a three-dimensional mirror reflecting back to you perfectly and flawlessly and unconditionally the inner state that you have going on within. The outer reality is nothing but a three-dimensional mirror that reflects that inner state back to you so you can actually see it and perceive it. I'll use another example now to describe how you could find out what ways to give yourself some self-love. Imagine that you are single, and imagine that in your singleness, you have this inner vision of the type of relationship you are longing for or craving for. Now, in this longing or craving, you play out these mental stories or mental experiences that you would like to have in real life. Maybe it's something as simple as you are imagining yourself having someone to be able to go to a movie with. And you'd never go to the movie because you're single, and therefore in your imagination, it seems to require this other human being in order for you to fulfill that expression of joy and love and experience that you would like to give yourself. This is a perfect place to illuminate the way that you can give yourself some self-love. If the action is that you would like to go see a movie and you would like to treat yourself and this imaginary partner with that experience, give yourself that experience right now. Don't wait for that person to be in your life in order for you to experience that joy or that thing that you would like to go out after. But this is still kind of the surface level of what is self-love. This is a kind of how do you date yourself advice. What is a deeper layer of self-love? What does it actually mean to self-love? I believe what it means to self-love is simply to accept your soul and who you are and allow that inner version of you to come through the outer version of you as effortlessly and as easily as possible. I believe that what's at the root of the feelings of not having self-love is a disconnect between your inner reality and your outer reality, what some people call the higher reality and this reality. I don't believe in higher and lower. The linear terms get way too confusing, but I do think it's accurate to describe your inner reality and your outer reality. Most times, the inner reality seems to be very separate from the outer reality. And if you feel this way, this, in my opinion, is a very clear moment in time where you can see that you are not acting in coherence with self-love. If your inner reality and your outer reality are very much at odds with one another, you are probably not in the groove of self-love. So self-love really comes from merging the two realities into one. Your inner reality and your outer reality becoming whole and coherent and a piece of one another and in contact with one another. What is a practical tool that you can use to enact self-love? Meditation, I believe, is one of the simplest ways to begin to bring coherence between your inner reality and your outer reality. Because you see, the problem lies in expression. Most people have a very difficult time expressing their true self. The version of them that they see on the inside, they have a very difficult time in embodying that true self on the outside. In meditation, you let the expression of your outside reality and the expression of your inside reality relax. You let both versions of you that you see totally relax. And in doing so, you put both of them into coherence with one another. They become balanced in the experience of meditation. Let's try an experiment. I'm grabbing something. When I show you this, I want you to be aware of what is going to happen in your body and in your breath and in your mind. Look at this symbol. What do you think? How does it make you feel? What emotions does it bring up? What thoughts does it give you, or what thoughts does it remove from you? And how is it that something like this can have such an effect on you? I haven't even used a word to describe it. You have just simply been observing it and observing yourself in relationship to it. So now, meditation, which is symbolized here, is a powerful tool to be able to bring you and your outer and inner realities into a stance of coherence. I highly recommend something like meditating, some way of just stilling the mind, whether it's an active meditation like riding a bike or rock climbing or swimming in the ocean, or whether it's a seated meditation with eyes closed. I recommend doing anything and everything that you can in order to still that hypercritical, over-judgmental side of your brain that has been developed over time. And the more you heal this place in you, the more you will enact and enable the healing to take place around you. You will help other people heal by healing yourself. When you come into a stance of coherence, you affect every single human being that you come in contact with. As they observe you, as they watch how you react to situations, as they watch how you respond to whatever words are being said in the social group, as they observe you, you are, in your energetic state, being an example of some type of energy, whether you are positive or negative. So when you are coherent, you become an example of a coherent energy existing in the world and becoming one with that experience. The more coherence you can bring into your body, the more you will naturally feel self-love. Do anything that you can in order to feel clear-minded, happy, and content. And then in that space, I believe you will naturally find the seeds of self-love. Well, I hope this helps you. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions about anything specific that I may have just touched on and you would like to get deeper into. I want this to be a conversation. The more questions you ask me, the more I am able to speak to you directly and give you some advice on anything that you might have interest in. Go to my website at onenomusic.com, sign the email list so we can stay in touch with each other. If you would like to know more about meditation, I've created a 12-breath meditation video here on my channel. I'll put a link to it right here, but you can also find it in my meditations playlist. All right, well, I'm out of here. Until I see you again along the journey, oneness in sound, I am Oneno. Peace.